Welcome to today. Thank you for joining us. And today's focus is on the kidney and urinary bladder meridians, and those are all connected with basically focusing on a flow through the spine. And that's really great also for opening up the chest. And of course, when we're opening up the chest, we're helping the diaphragm to work better, to work efficiently, and to help with stress and anxiety and all those things that perhaps we've been going through recently. So let's start just sitting on a bolster. And from here, I'd just like to invite you to choose any breathing technique that you feel would be helpful for you today. So just to remind you, focusing on your breath, inhale, exhale for 4. The diaphragmatic breathing, lying down and focusing on the movement of your abdomen. And lastly, the alternate nose breathing. So we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So just in the first minute, get yourself into a comfortable position, noticing the sit bones pushing down towards the mat or the bolster. Your spine is long. Your arms are relaxed. And your hands are not gripping. Your hands are relaxed. And just take this time just to become aware of your breath. If you've been running, or if you've been running around or trying to do something with technology, perhaps you are feeling frustrated, your breathing is shallow, you're feeling a bit anxious. So just notice that and just bring your awareness to the abdomen and focus on calming the body as your breath becomes slower. And then whichever breathing technique you choose for the next 3 minutes. Do your last round now, whatever you're doing, and return to the natural breathing. And now slowly opening your eyes. Okay, so let's move now to the first pose of today. And in the first pose of today, we're going to be literally opening up the whole front of our body. And of course, this is quite a challenging pose. We have been exploring it over the last few weeks. So I'm going to give you the different options for this one. So this is I'm going to be illustrating how we do the saddle, but of course it depends on your body. You might want to do the different adaptations that I propose rather than do the entire saddle. So I'm going to show you. So the option one is basically, if this is enough for you, you might want to just sit on your knees, sit on your heels for 5 minutes. And otherwise, if that's uncomfortable, you can sit on a block. Okay, so the idea here, remember, with the saddle, the focus is on feeling a stretch in the quads or down into the knees, the front of the knees, not the sides. And then also if you lean back a little bit, you could feel a stretch on the hips here, the hip flexors. So that's the option one. And then the option two is to do the half saddle. So you stretch one leg out and the other leg is bent. And you can either stay here or you can move back a little bit. And if you had a bolster, you could perhaps lean onto a bolster like this, for example. Always working very slowly. Yeah, Maria, be careful, huh? When we start with the saddle, I always propose just hanging out for at least a minute, just so your body, especially your leg, is okay. And then as your body relaxes, you can experiment going back, but don't go back immediately. So this is the second option. And now the third option would be the saddle itself, where you sit between your feet. And for this option, what I'm going to propose is, because it is such an intense pose, I'm going to propose the option of eventually leaning back onto a bolster. This is wonderful. What I would suggest is don't have the bolster right under your lower back. It's a little bit backwards. And then you come back onto it. And then it's actually quite accessible. After you've spent a few minutes, so I would suggest, spending a few minutes, check out how it feels. Maybe you're just going to stay here like this for 5 minutes. If you feel any pain, then it's really important to come up. Don't stay there just because you feel you should, right? So this is how we start off. Eventually you could come back onto your elbows, and then if it's still feeling okay, you could come back onto the bolster. So you notice my head is on the bolster, and the bolster isn't right underneath, going into my hips. Yeah, it's a little bit away. Okay, so choose the option that suits you best, and we're going to be there for 5 minutes. So as I said at the beginning, always going slowly. I'm going to do the full saddle, but please choose the option that suits you. So Maria, for you, what I'll do is after 2.5 minutes, I'll say, okay, time to change to the other side. Okay, and always being, particularly in the saddle, it's really important to be conscious of the joints. And as we all know, the knee joint is one of the most fragile joints we have. So it is not a good idea just to hang out there if there is pain. If you are feeling pain and discomfort there, then you shouldn't push your body. You should basically be sitting up in that Caesar position, as we call it. Otherwise, if you're feeling what they call a juicy stretch, then just stay there and enjoy the stretch, because basically we have the stretch from the toes, so we're getting a nice stretch on the toes, the upper part of the foot, along the shin to the knees, obviously the quads, and then as we lean back, we get a little bit of a stretch in the hip flexors. And then remember, if you let your head hang back, it's a nice stretch for the neck. Don't stay there for too long, but it's also really nice for thyroid. If you have thyroid issues, it's really nice to stimulate the thyroid. So, with everything with this pose, also remember, if you've been running and you do this pose, you may find it more difficult than perhaps today, because when we run, the muscles become shorter, and so there's actually, it takes it longer to stretch, but it's actually very good if you're a runner to do this stretch. And so if you're feeling comfortable now and you have a bolster behind you, you can experiment just bringing yourself onto your elbows. Always going within your limits, remember, because this is not about pushing, it's just about feeling a nice, comfortable stretch. And then if that is feeling comfortable, you could slowly slide your way down. If you notice that your knees lift up as you come back, don't worry, because that's what happens to your body. That's what happens, that could happen to your body. It's not a mistake. It's not something you mustn't do, because remember, this is not alignment-based class. This is not an alignment-based yoga. This is yoga that is functional. So we're looking at what is good for your body. And in this pose, the legs or the feet, for example, the feet could be to the side. Whereas if you're doing a different type of yoga, often you are told that your feet can't be sticking out to the sides. They should be close in, or they should be underneath your legs. So remember, this is all about finding what suits your body and then enjoying the stretch, basically. And so, as most of us have been perhaps over a computer today, opening up the front part of the body is so important, because we are creating space for the diaphragm to breathe efficiently, and that always helps with calming down the nervous system. So the nervous system, which is being perhaps rattled by things that are happening today. And in this way we are being able to calm down. Now slowly moving yourself onto your elbows and then coming up. And straighten your legs. And we're just going to lie down. If you feel like groaning, that is allowed. Lie on your back. And enjoy. Enjoy the feeling. The nice stretching. Okay, so now bend your knees and just rock yourself gently up into a seated position. And we're going to move now to what we call the half butterfly. And here we're going to be stretching mostly the hamstrings. So as usual, if you need to, you can be seated on a bolster with your legs stretched out. If your hamstrings are tight, please place a block underneath them. And we're going to twist slightly towards the right leg and then just move the body over the leg and relaxing. The head is hanging down, or we could lean the head on the hand or the hands, whichever is comfortable for you. And we'll be here for 5 minutes. So just get into a comfortable position. And remember going slowly into this position. Remember when we are in this position, we round the back just to relax all the ligaments along the spine. So the back is not flat, it's just rounded. And today we're looking at the kidney and urinary bladder meridians. And so the kidney meridian starts with a small toe. And it goes along the back of the heel and up on the inside of the leg. So all the way up the inside of the leg. And so whenever we are stimulating the groin area, that is stimulating the kidney meridian, and then it moves up into kidney and urinary bladder. And the kidneys are situated between the pelvis and the ribs. And so when we are stimulating the spine, we are often stimulating the kidneys. And the kidneys regulate the blood in our body. And so according to traditional Chinese medicine, this is connected with the lubrication, for example, of our joints. And this is exactly what we're doing in yin. We are specifically lubricating joints because this is how we need to this is what we essentially need to keep active, to keep mobile, to keep healthy. And of course, one of the fundamental joints that we are activating and that we're going to be working on a lot today is the spine. So we're going to do quite a few forward and backward bends, which together with being nourishing for the spine are also nourishing for the kidneys. And now slowly moving upwards. And let's just straighten the leg, and we're going to move directly to the other leg. So bringing the foot in towards the groin. I'm off the bolster now, but if you need a bolster, continue sitting on the bolster, creating a support for your bone so you can get a nice stretch in the hamstrings. And so twisting again to the right, to the left now, and if you have blocks, you can start off leaning on your blocks. And leaning your head on your hands if you need that. So perhaps noticing the side, if you notice any differences between this side and the other side. But most of all, when we're in this pose, as we are in a position, in a pose of inward looking, it's a good moment just to check in with that worrying and ruminating thought machine, and just see if you can switch it off for the next 45 minutes or so. Just try to just focus on simple things like the sensations in your body, how does it feel? How does my right hip feel? How does my neck feel? Notice how your feet are feeling. Just opportunities for you to bring your attention to different aspects of your body, simply to keep your mind entertained and distracted from projects, thoughts, fears. Because remember, the mind also needs a break, although sometimes it seems incapable of realizing it, and it seems impossible to stop this thought machine. But even if you achieve a couple of minutes where the mind actually becomes engaged in what you are physically doing in your body, that is it will feel as like a relief. It will bring relief to your mind and also to your body. Remember, they're all intimately connected. The emotional or the mental creates tension in the body, tightening in the body. So gently pushing yourself up. Okay. And from here, we're just going to do a simple exercise, just placing your feet in front of you, hip distance apart, the arms, the hands behind you with the hands facing backwards or facing front, depends which is easier for you, whatever your body wants. And then we just allow the legs just to fall gently and slowly from side to side. Just getting out some of that, perhaps some of that stress that we are feeling after all that stretching. Okay, right, good. Okay, so we're gonna move now to the straddle, which is the legs wide open. And here as well, if you need to, please sit up on a bolster with your legs bent, bolster with the blocks underneath. And this pose is the quintessential pose for really stimulating the kidneys, because as the kidney meridian, because as I said, the kidney meridian comes up the inside of the leg and basically to the groin area, and then around the reproductive organs as well. So it's quite an intense pose here. But of course, always be mindful of where you move to, right? So you could be leaning onto 2 blocks. Remember, your legs are relaxed. And that's why if you can't straighten your legs and your hamstrings are stiff, you should have blocks underneath them so you can relax them. And then moving forward and relaxing the head onto the blocks or onto the hands, and rounding the back. Once again, this invitation to towards introspection, this invitation to just draw back from the thought machine, even if that requires you to perhaps spend time focusing on the movement of your breath, perhaps even spending time on counting to 4 on the inhale and 4 on the exhale. And I would really actually recommend that technique of counting, because it really, if you are focused on it, it is extremely effective in literally stopping any ruminating, because your mind is forced to focus on counting. So it's a great way to really bathe yourself in calmness. Because remember, one of the fundamentals of yin is the deep and slow breathing, which triggers our calmer nervous system. Taking us from the excitable and ready to fight and flight system, which is good when we are rushing around, but we can't be rushing around all the time, because then we burn out. So it's always good to step back and, if you can, even just spending 5 minutes just focusing, just sitting somewhere, focusing on your breath, counting your breath. Alternate nose breathing is also a great technique. Okay, so slowly coming upwards, and we're going to do a little what should I say, energizing pose now. So if you come to the same position, and then rather than the legs falling from side to side, we're actually going to lift ourselves up. So just to remind you, on the inhale we lift up, and on the exhale we come down. And we're going to do that 3 times. And if you can, on the third one, we're going to hold it for 3 breaths. Okay, so you ready? Wake up. Okay, and inhale, up. Exhale, down. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. And then the last one, stay for 3. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, and come down. Well done. Okay, we're going to move now because we've been doing forward bends. We're going to continue with the forward bends, which are nearly finished. This is the caterpillar. So if you remember the caterpillar, we could be seated on a bolster, either the legs together in front of us or the legs apart. And once again, the focus is on the hamstrings. So I like to do it without a bolster, and you could start off just literally leaning on a bolster like this. And we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So wherever you are, going into it slowly. Remember, if you're sitting on a bolster, you could place the blocks underneath your thighs to relax your bones and get into that nice stretch. And one of the interesting things about the traditional Chinese medicine is that apparently the kidneys are the storeroom for extra energy. So when we are pushing ourselves to try to finish something, when we are tired, when we really should stop, we actually are pushing or pulling on that energy that the kidney provides. The kidney is that like an extra storehouse of energy to give you that additional energy that you need when you are almost at your limit. And also, the kidney is connected with lower back issues. So by stimulating and compressing that area, we are nourishing the kidney meridian, which is what we need to do if we have those issues. So it may seem counterintuitive that we are deliberately compressing an area which is sensitive, but according to Chinese traditional medicine, with the meridians, we should be working to stimulate that area. It's a bit like when I said to you, when you injure yourself, if you just leave that part of your body and you don't work it, the connective tissues shorten and become stiff, and then eventually it's painful to move. And so the same thing applies, that we should work on stimulating the areas in order to nourish them. Okay, so we're slowly moving upwards. And we're just going to move to one of my favorite counter postures, which is the cat-cow. I don't know if you remember that one. So the cat-cow, come to all fours. And when we inhale, we go into the cat, arching the back, looking backwards, and then exhale, the back comes down, coming up into the cow. And then inhale again. This is really lovely to warm up the back. And in between poses. And then exhale, bringing it up. This is a wonderful thing to do when you wake up in the morning, just very, very slowly waking up the spine. And last one, exhaling. Okay, right. So we're going to move now to a pose where we're going to be opening up the front of the body a little bit more. And this is the melting heart pose, but this time we're going to do half-half. So we're going to do 2.5 minutes. Oh, hello, Susan.
Hello.
Hi. Did you get my message that there was a time change in the time changed? So we're in the middle of the class. Yeah, can you hear?
I can.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No problem, no problem. Okay, so anyway, but you can, I'll send you the link later, so you can watch the whole thing.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, so from all fours, we're going to move the right arm forward, bend the left arm, bring the head onto the left hand or onto the mat. And from here, we're going to be here for 2.5 minutes on each side. So once we've done 2.5 minutes, then I will indicate that we continue on the other side. Okay, so from here, the great part of this pose is that we, first of all, opening up the shoulders. And then also you should be feeling a stretch from the wrists up to under your arms. And we're doing one side at a time so you can really get into that stretch. And of course, this is a nice back bend, particularly for your upper back. So if you have tension in your shoulders, you should really feel this. If you feel any pinching in your shoulders, remember you can move your hand a little out to the side. Wherever you are, just enjoying the stretch. Now slowly coming up and changing. We change immediately to the other side, stretching out the left hand, bringing the right hand down and leaning on your hand, putting your forehead on your hand, on your right hand this time, or on the mat. And perhaps you'll notice a difference here. I can definitely notice a difference. My left arm is so much stiffer than my right arm. I can feel really a much deeper stretch here. So remember, when you feel tension in a specific side, just relax into it. And often you'll feel that the sensations slowly melt away. Now slowly coming back up and just bringing your hands to your knees, and let's just rest here. Okay, so we're going to move to the last pose of today, which is the twisted roots. So if you come lying on your back, I'm going to provide you with two options. So option one, if you find the second option not accessible, then obviously please do this first option. So the first option is basically bending your knees, bringing your knees towards your chest, the arms out, and then allow your knees to drop towards the side. So that's option one. And then option two, which is the twisted roots. So bringing your right leg over your left leg, tucking the ankle underneath if that's accessible for you. And then from here, it's really important just shift yourself a little bit to the right, so you provide yourself with some space, and then allow your hips to fall on one side. Okay, so I'll just repeat that last one. Of course, please do whatever is accessible for you. Yeah, so if you're doing the twisted roots, right leg over left, hook the ankle underneath if that's accessible for you. Shift your hips slightly to the right and then allow them to come down. Of course, when we are doing this one, it's more of an intense twist for the spine. So if this is uncomfortable for you, as I mentioned before, Don't force yourself into that position. If you are doing the twisted roots and you need a block, please do that as well. If you are without a block, you may notice that your arm or your shoulder is coming off the floor. Often that is just the result of tension. So if you notice that, just relax, consciously relax your arm and your shoulder. And after 2 or 3 minutes, you'll notice that the shoulder is more or less on the mat or on the floor. Remember, you can also place your arms in a cactus shape. Whatever you do with your arms depends on the shape of your shoulders. If it's accessible for your shoulders with the arms straight or the arms bent. So remember, we often end a practice with twists where we are releasing tension in the spine, but also when we twist, it's compressing internal organs, helping with digestion, and then of course across the chest, the shoulders, a really nice stretch there. And think of this as your moment of nourishing your body, your nervous system, the blood, your breath. And hopefully as well, calming of your mind. And now slowly bring those knees up, unhook them if they've been hooked around, and then just hug your knees towards your chest, or you can open your legs if that's more accessible for you. Open your knees, keeping your lower back imprinted on the mat, just with a nice neutral spine, particularly to release any tension in the lower back. And then closing your knees. And then now we do the other side. So bring your block to the other side if you need your block. And Otherwise, if you're doing the twist, this time the left arm, the left leg around the right leg, twist it around, shift your hips slightly to the left, and then bring them down. And we'll be here for 5 minutes. Remember, you can also turn your head the other direction, the different direction to the direction of your knees. And just enjoy this nourishing twist. And now slowly bring your knees back to the center and hug your knees towards your chest or open your legs. Imprinting the lower back onto the mat. If you like, just rock gently from side to side. And then slowly straightening your legs out. And if you need a blanket, now is the time to grab a blanket. If you need to switch off the lights, get yourself comfortable, grab a pillow, anything to help you to relax. And then also I just wanted to remind you as well, when we are doing the relaxation, you can also bend your legs. That's sometimes a nice way to relax the lumbar spine as well. Bend your legs. You can place a bolster or something underneath your knees. That's another option. The most important thing is to feel that your body is entirely relaxed. So coming into that position, remember we suggest the palm is facing upwards, because in that way we are relaxing the shoulder blades. And as you can imagine, the shoulder blades are those poor muscles between the shoulder blades which are constantly locked and stressed, because most of the time when we are sitting we are hunched, and those muscles are activated in order to basically because we are hunching forward and we are opening the shoulder blades. And in this way we are relaxing the shoulder blades. We are allowing them to take a break. So just focusing now on your breath. Just in general, focusing on your state. How did you feel? How do you feel now in your body compared to when you started? Hopefully there will be more of a calm energy flowing through your body. And now, because we've been working on opening the front of the body with a lot of those poses, we're going to start with the toes. So just wiggle your toes a little bit, squeeze them tightly, and then relax. And then point your toes, and then relax. And then we're just going to work on pointing the toes and lifting right leg slightly off the ground and relax. Pointing left leg, lift that leg slightly off the ground and relax. Oh. Sometimes there are parts of the body that aren't relaxed, and by activating the muscles and then releasing, we often get a greater relaxation. And now move to the pelvis. And clench your buttocks and then relax. And then from here, the focus goes into the spine that we've been stimulating today. So start with the sacrum, the end of your spine. Bring your awareness up behind the pelvis, behind your ribs, and up to the area behind your shoulders. Just feel the front of your body opening and relaxing. And move down your forearms to your elbows, down to your wrists, your hands. Slowly clench your hands, your fingers into a fist, and then relax. And lastly, moving the attention to the neck. Just feel the muscles of the neck relaxing. Consciously relax. And lastly, to that poor head that's been worrying and plotting and planning and solving all day. Just relax the muscles in your face, and often that will bring relaxation to your brain. Smile. And relax. Now slowly start to waken up the body, moving fingers and toes, moving the wrists and the ankles. Bring the legs together, arms above the head. Give yourself a nice stretch. And the arms down. And bring yourself to a seated position, whichever way is comfortable for you. So thank you so much for joining me today. It was wonderful to share that class with you. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And have a wonderful week. And I'll see some of you on Thursday and some of you on Sunday. And happy Easter.